distinguish between persuasion and manipulation. Okay, now you understood what is the demand of the question. You also understood that how do you deal with such type of question. Now, how do you structure your answer? What is the storyline that you develop? So, difference between persuasion and manipulation. The demand of the question here is, so it is basically asking you about a precise definition of the term, that is persuasion and manipulation. What do you mean by manipulation? What do you mean by persuasion? You should know very clearly, you should know very precisely, you should know in brief. Okay, this is what has been asked from me. And then the second thing that you have to tell is the difference between these two terms. What is the difference between persuasion and manipulation? Now it is very important for you to understand what is the question not asking. Okay? Because what happens is in ethics paper, for every answer you try to think whether it is ethical, whether it is not ethical. The question is not asking you this. Question is simply asking you explain the difference between manipulation and persuasion. What is the question not asking? The question is not asking how is persuasion ethical. It is not asking how is manipulation unethical. The question does not demand you to comment on the ethical dimensions. They have not asked whether one is ethical, whether the other is unethical. They simply want you to explain the difference. So how do you structure your answer? In the introduction, you tend to write the definition of manipulation. The definition of manipulation with examples. Okay, so first in the intro, you write the definition of these two terms and try to write examples. Examples are something which will give you an edge over the other candidate. If you don't have example, then you will be at a weak position. Okay? So my suggestion to you is, for ethics, please incorporate the keywords and also write the examples and also write the quotes. Okay, for every term in your syllabus. And for a question where there is a difference, okay, for better visual depiction, try to have a table. Okay, so here how would your answer be? It would be, okay, you are explaining what is persuasion. Okay, you've written an example. What is manipulation? You've written an example, and then you explain the difference between the two in the table. So explain the difference between the two in the table. So now let's come to the question. The question is fairly easy. The distinguish between persuasion and manipulation. Distinguish between persuasion and manipulation. Okay. What is persuasion? Persuasion means you try to convince people, but then you don't try to distort the fact. You give the true facts. You try to explain your position. You try to understand the position of the other. As against this, okay, manipulation would involve the distortion of the facts. Okay, you will distort the facts as per your convenience. Okay, this is what we generally understand by manipulation and persuasion. So let's see the difference between the persuasion and manipulation. Persuasion, what is persuasion? It is an act of convincing people. You try to convince people. Okay, for what? You try to convince people to change their viewpoint. You want to change the pupil's viewpoint and you want them to do a certain act. So you want them to do a certain act even if it is against their original thought process. So what is persuasion? You're trying to convince people. Convince them for what? To change their viewpoint. Okay, now till now you believed in something else, I persuaded, and now you are believing in something else. So convincing people to change their viewpoint, to do a certain act, even if it was against their original thought process. For example, if I say Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, okay, we built toilets. People were not ready to actually change their behavior. They used toilets for storage, they used toilets for cupboards, as cupboards. So that the government used persuasion to change the behavior of the people. A very good example that you can write in your answers. You can write an example of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan as well in your persuasion techniques. Any other example? See, every government scheme, it tries to actually change the behavior of the people. It is what is it's doing? It is persuading the people. It is convincing the people to change their viewpoint. For example, here the example that we have written is Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme. The Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme has used the tactics like Gudda Guddi boards. They've used Gudda Guddi boards. They have used the Beti Janam, they celebrate the daughter's birth, they have daughters club, they have women parliaments, okay, for bringing the behavioral change among the young girls and boys. We try to change the behavior by using Gudda Guddi boards, women parliament, and celebrating the daughter's birthday. So here, in 2-3 lines, you've tried to explain, you've used the current affairs knowledge. You've used the current affairs knowledge to fit into the demand of the question. That's what you have done. Then, what is manipulation? So, what is persuasion? We've understood. There is no evil intention. There is no evil will in the persuasion. It is just simply convincing the people. Now, what is manipulation? What is manipulation? In the manipulation, there is distorted fact or distorted truth that is presented. So there is presenting of the distorted truth. Okay, the distorted truth is presented to influence the people to do something different from their initial intention. Okay, so here this is the most important keyword, that you distort the fact, that you distort the truth, and then you try to influence or convince people. An example you can write about the advertisers, the advertisements. Even if they know that there is some other chemical that is harmful for my body and we should not consume, still they advertised. Okay, so the alcohol, there is an advertisement of alcohol in the name of water. The same water, the brand of same water, they will sell. But then ultimately that's nothing but an advertisement of alcohol. That also can be written. The advertisers, they distort the fact, okay, to actually just market a particular product. So here, see what I'm trying to project here is, after the definition, if you write an example, the examiner connects with you in a better manner. So examples, they are the heart of ethics. So try to write example after the introduction in your ethics paper. Right. So this is what is manipulation and what is persuasion, we have already seen. Now coming on to the main demand of the question. The main demand of the question is explain the difference. So when you have to explain the difference between them, try to present it in a tabular manner. So the difference between persuasion and manipulation. So what is persuasion? Basically persuasion is convincing the people, and you don't distort the fact. There is no ill will, there is no ill intention. That is persuasion. So here in persuasion, it involves all the rights and the ethical arguments. Okay, it is a right, it's an ethical thing. It actually advances the position of all involved, whoever are the stakeholders in the decision making. All the stakeholders in the decision making, they are involved in a persuasion technique. Okay. However, in the manipulation, the intention is to extract the gain. You want to extract the gain from one party, and it is beneficial only to one party or two parties. So this is beneficial to all the parties. Persuasion involves benefit of all. However, manipulation involves benefit of few. So this involves the benefit of few, whereas this involves the benefit of all. Benefit of all. The second point of difference is there is good intention, there is ill intention. There is good intention and there is ill intention. It is morally wrong. The manipulation is morally wrong. It has ill intention. Whereas in persuasion, you have the good intention. So here we talked about the stakeholders. Here we are talking about the intention. Then another point of difference is the persuasion. The persuasion involves freedom to choose. right? So there is an involvement of the freedom to decide. An individual can accept or can reject. It can accept or reject, whereas in manipulation there is a coercion involved. Okay, you coerce the people. You coerce, COERCE. You try to pressurize the person. You try to coerce the person involved and manipulate for your betterment. Okay, the person being manipulative is made that there is no other way but to take this option which is presented by the manipulator. So here there is freedom, here there is coercion. Okay. So if I actually sum up three differences there in manipulation and persuasion. In persuasion you involve all the stakeholders. Persuasion does not have ill intention and there is a freedom to decide. Whereas in manipulation there is a benefit of only one stakeholder. There is coercion and it is ill intention and does not have the good act. Here in the persuasion you can write an example of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Beti Bachao Beti Padhao or any government scheme. Okay. How do you conclude? So when you say that when persuasion is distorted, when you distort the persuasion, it will become manipulation. So distortion of persuasion is manipulation, and to prevent this from happening, to prevent the persuasion, so that the persuasion does not become a manipulation, to prevent the persuasion to become manipulative, what do we need? We need strong ethics, we need strong values, we need justice, fairness, tolerance, liberty, truthfulness, integrity. So yes, these questions like, write the difference between the manipulation and persuasion are very simple, provided you have the art of articulation in an examination. Here simple, if you don't have the art of articulation, simply learn the definition. Learn, memorize it, like the way you memorized your table in the childhood. Then write an example, use the table format, and then try to end with the values or ethics. How can you prevent something? How can you inculcate something? So this is from my side. I hope you liked the video. Stay tuned.